It's Podraza. I'm not making any of this up. I don't know anything about some whale that somebody wanted to mate to. That is on something I was getting on this phone. Also, this is Pat Podraza again. Ghost writers. I was writers, Writers. One must not be involved with seances. The drugs have got to be controlled to a level. They're talking to the dead or something with seances. The reference is South Windsor. My father worked for SWEF there. I don't know what it stood for. It was in the civil service. The nun that I respected that I couldn't figure out what happened to her when I taught, you answered this question, reading to first graders and I was in second. Sister Grace Mary was supposed to have gone to South Windsor. Somebody in grammar school would not tell me that and should have, because I was good to Section 8s and good to those kids tied with somebody in 8th grade that should not have been tied to, in terms of there was no valedictorian. Now, there was a problem with a nun. I bet she was not a Sister of Mercy, had no problem with Sisters of Mercy. Now, we take you back into that. This is all messed up. On ghost writers, drugs, the dead don't write novels. Now, I'm telling you, I'm reading one that has hit me on this subject. Do not debit my account anything for our time. I am not involved with that. You must understand that. If there was an erroneous debit, I don't know what $81 is. I have to go over there and balance an account that was perfectly balanced on October 6th. And this can't happen because I do not have the funds. I have to find some out of savings or I lay up. Something else is out of food money. I don't know whether I'm going to make it. And if so, it's got to come out of that checking account. No miscellaneous debits can be made on that account due to something not paid. That cannot take place due to the mess on the analysis on this subject matter. Now, that is my conclusion on that. I don't know anything about that, but I look up, I throw all the stuff out. I'm going to say this, and because I'm not somebody who doesn't return a phone call, but in this case I have to. That date was circumspect. It was part of some sort of analysis of vertebrae. I don't make love to somebody right off the bat. That's like a hooking organization to me. I'm not of that kind, and I would have never moved in with Phil Weber at all if I weren't on some crazy medication that was altering my logic. I am a mature lady. Now, you listen to a song, I can remember him, Delilah, by Tom Jones. That's the proper determination of what a lady is. I watched a documentary on Alon. I'd have been taking those kids out of that school. I interviewed twice there, way back. And I understand those children were abused. And I'm telling you, I was not irritated by any one of them on the subject of abuse and how they ended up on that subject. Now, I don't know whether you're a psychiatrist or what you are, but I am no way going to listen to oral sex anymore, cunnilingus, fellatio, rear on the sex, anything like that, laughed at, or have to visually watch that. I have no prejudices on talent and ability. I am a total straight heterosexual, and I don't want to think about the sex otherwise, and that is where it's at. I watch psychological things purposely for information and some legal. Those are my two favorites. The occult, I don't want to dabble in it at all. and that is where we're at. Some borders on it. Now, that's my answer, because I answer you. You sent me back a folded picture. Why would you have folded it? I could ask you, are you subconscious on something? I don't like for fall that I am those situations at all. I'm none of the above. I told you my mother and I would have been out on the street in 3 states due to their preferences, their deductions, their being lied to, deliberate or otherwise. There should be no freedom of speech rule other than it can ruin somebody. Now I'm telling you, that was some crazy experiment. When he threw the liquor and I couldn't drink it. At this point in my life, I can handle somebody who drinks a bit, not on any form of drugs. It impacted the family. My cousin Jack's boy, one is dead. Impacted part of the other family in Georgia on that also. Get drug treatment, and I don't want any psychosis. There's been murders on this. There's nobody in here. I have a gun legally looked at, investigated, and permitted due to what I come from in my father's background. I don't use it, I don't flail it, but I don't want to be murdered either. I listen to Have a Nice Die, D-I-E. Honestly, I don't want to listen to that. Now, I feel good in this apartment, finishing up with a couple of lamps, saving something for Christmas. And boy, I don't want to hear anymore. I happen to be a refined female. That is the proper terminology of lady versus woman. Now, there are ladies of the night. I tell you, if you want homework, you listen to the documentary, How to Save Those Kids. I didn't have the physical wherewithal to play basketball. I think that was part of it. I was interviewed in the trailer, and I went to that school. I was not an educator. I don't have a master's in ed that teaches in the school. So I don't know what went on. But I tried for those kids. I probably would have been knocked off and of something in a tire trying to save those kids if they wanted to leave that school and have a life. It has been said, it was in a newspaper. I was not on the premises. I don't know what took place. But I'm telling you, I can feel for that. Now, I don't feel for deliberate and ridicule. That is not fraught from horrible abuse on what they were raised by. I understand, and if some hooker says she's lucky she didn't have a venereal disease. Now, I'm going to tell you that makes some sense to me. I tried to thwart one kid who had a pimp or parents putting her into that life. I made a suggestion to maybe where she could get some help on that because she didn't want to be in it. Now, I can't say, I'm asking, you're young. Now, I could make the assumption that you're in Maine. Why would you give me fun? I worked until 74 trying to be employed at what I felt I could do. I had to sit down, and I did not make anything up, and I'm not involving myself with holier than thou or any form of doing surgery on knees. I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm taking that. I don't need any buttermilk, whatever it is, because I use regular buttermilk in a lot of things. That is not something I'd add expense to. So I'm not going to do that. I deal with Joel Hall. Now I'm answering you due to the fact I'm not somebody that doesn't return phone calls. There's your answer. I have been hurt. I don't know whether there's 2 betrayals, but one I never had the facts on, and I was told the truth on Natrum and where to get it and where to deal with. I cannot say there's been a betrayal on that. Now, anything else is none of my business, technically, outside of an answer directly, which I felt might have been the situation that should have been said directly to me on a subject. I would have recommended that to somebody. Now, the older male, I don't know what's happened to him. I have no idea. I don't hear from him. I don't count on it. This is my apartment, and I literally want verbally out loud at this point. The individual would have to make a presence sit down and talk to me as a friend, if anything else. As far as a mate is understanding, if he could not function, then I should have somebody in this bed who can, as a male, and understands my choice of refinement. Now, this is my home, and I don't think it is a dump. There is room for a bookcase, a lock, an armoire, a hook in a closet for shoes. There's room for pictures. I have a table, lamps I can't always see, but I work on, so I'm going to have an extra lamp. And something is going to be saved. I need some lamps in here. And that is where it's at. I shouldn't be justifying my expense. I don't happen to be, by the grace of God, insane. Now, when you listen to me, I am none of the descriptions that you have said.